Saludos y bienvenidos a la guía de KONA. Este juego lo tenemos disponibles en Xbox Game Pass y se completan alrededor de 6 horas. Todos los logros se pueden hacer de una vez, pero eso sí requiere mucha exploración, porque por ejemplo hay un logro de encontrar todas las hogueras del mapa. Todas las hogueras se encuentran, no hace falta encenderlas, lo que pasa es que yo las voy encendiendo para saber que he estado allí. Así que es una buena forma de, digamos, cómo apuntar las hogueras que pasáis. También al pasar por una hoguera, si miráis el mapa sale pintada ahí, ¿vale? Otras cosas que tenéis que hacer para poder hacer el juego en una pasada. Más bien no hacer. No podéis fumar, no podéis beber, ni siquiera agua, ¿vale? Porque hay gente a la que el logro de pasarte el juego sin beber no se lo da, porque bebe agua, así que no bebáis ni agua. Tampoco podéis usar vehículos más allá de la parte de la historia, que es cuando llegáis a la tienda. A partir de la tienda no uséis ningún vehículo y tampoco disparéis. Las bengalas no cuentan para ese logro, pero yo tampoco me la jugaría, vaya que se os glitché. ¿Qué más? Sí, una cosa más. Guardad un filete para el final del juego, para no tener que hacer un gameplay entero como tuve que hacer yo, ¿vale? Es más, esta guía la hice yo paso a paso, intentando hacerlo todo, pero me dio por beberme una cerveza para hacer la gracia y se me jodió ese logro y el del filete. Así que tuve que hacer una partida nueva para sacar esos dos logros. Así que, resumiendo, para hacerte todos los logros de una pasada, no fuméis, no bebáis nada, no uséis vehículos, no disparéis ninguna bala, las bengalas sirven, pero aún así no os la juguéis y no uséis la pistola de bengalas. Encended todas las hogueras que vayáis viendo, os van a sobrar materiales, no hay problemas por encenderlas todas. Y guardad un filete al menos para el final, ¿vale? Con eso ya deberíais poder sacar los 1000 Gs de una pasada. Así que venga, vamos al lío a sacarnos este KONA.
Sought information for a living. That is to say that ever since he returned from Korea, after having served with the armed forces, he had been working as a private investigator in Montreal. William Hamilton, a rich industrialist, had gotten in touch with him regarding a simple vandalism issue. Nothing to write home about. Not worth hiring a private eye either, just so he can drive for hours on rough roads. But that's how it had always been. The client pays, Carl gets it done. They had set up to meet at the general store, his client's business. Well, actually the entire village had William Hamilton's name written all over it. Were bad, muddy, or snowed in, it was customary around these parts to close them off. But it was also customary to ignore those signs entirely and drive there anyway.
Bien chicos, justo al comenzar el juego empezamos también a trabajar en el logro de conseguir todos los documentos, y el primero de ellos es este que hay aquí. Hay algunos documentos que tenéis que ver todas las páginas, pulsando el stick izquierdo hacia la derecha, como veis ahí abajo, que os indica que el botón L es para ver el anterior o siguiente. Tenéis que ver todas las páginas. Y una vez abramos la verja. Con las tenazas que cogimos ahí arriba de la atalaya, tendremos la oportunidad de sacar el primer logro. Y es la única oportunidad, ¿vale? Así que hacedlo. Y aquí a la izquierda, justo en la garita, hay una piedra. Y al interactuar con ella, dejaremos un billete y eso nos desbloquea el primer logro del juego.
Hamilton enjoyed a lavish country house built in the very heart of the northern forests, not too far from here. The local populace was divided when it came to the affluent man. Some saw a wealthy philanthropist dedicated to improving the region's economy. Others an aging Englishman who would do anything to further his fortunes. And those ones hated him enough to go on about scheming against him. Hamilton had recently acquired a few local businesses, but the last straw was the reopening of a mine, which gave rise to a wave of protests and threats from the Cree people. Given these circumstances, Carl reckoned that a good number of people must be feeling compelled to oppose Hamilton in one way or another. So far, only the industrialist's house had been a target, but soon enough, Carl thought, the target would become the man himself. Carl needed to get out of there. The cold and the pain required urgent care. It was so cold. Already Carl did not feel his toes anymore. Even better than he had hoped. Carl Faubert had succeeded once more, and was now on his way to new adventures. The driver had taken off. It was still best to check it out and leave nothing to chance. Carl needed help. It was a small, locked box engraved with the letters W.H. Carl thought about taking it. Nothing was to be left to chance. Such heart-wrenching Nordic poetry that was. But Carl didn't care much about flowery language. Spread out on a few acres of untouched forest, bellowing caribou, everlasting snow, and undefiled lakes. The Manistan region was no tourist hub. It was said to have been populated for millennia by Cree people, and ever since the industrial era, by the metal mining industry. The truck was running on fumes. Good thing that the general store was close by.
Estamos llegando a la tienda donde vamos a sacar rápidamente dos logros, uno de ellos de historia y otro por hacer la foto al cadáver de Hamilton, que no es de historia pero es muy difícil de perder también. Además, este es el último momento donde podéis usar un vehículo en el juego para desbloquear el logro correspondiente de pasártelo solo andando. Así que a partir de este momento no uséis ninguno de los vehículos que vamos a encontrar durante todo el paisaje de este KONA.
Carl had no trouble recognizing his employer. He had been killed. There was no need to be a detective to figure that out. But only a detective could have noticed that the killer had to have been very close, that the fatal blow had been given before the victim even realized. Carl felt a chill down his spine and had a terrifying realization. If Hamilton was dead, then who was going to pay him? An explosion suddenly occurred outside. Carl knew that Gilles Lachance was in charge of the general store. That made him one of Hamilton's employees. A very angry employee, as Carl could plainly see. According to that log, it seemed like the whole village owed some money to the general store. Carl was far more interested in the bunch of nearby addresses he had just gotten his hands on, though. Maintaining his composure, Carl recalled something from his military training. Wolves always stay away from populated areas. Wait, was it about bears? Hate was in the air. Seems like some villagers barely tolerated each other. At long last, the crowbar was within Carl's grasp. Surely it would come in handy at some point. The murder weapon. What was that doing there, Carl wondered. Hamilton must have been determined to keep some information secret to post this key. Shame he got unlucky. Everything made sense now. Poor Hamilton's denunciation was interrupted, and he figured it would be best to lock everything up and send the key to his correspondent, who would receive the box later on. Clever, but not enough. That's what happens to ordinary people playing spy. Carl, ever diligent in his work, always carried his log on him, in which he scribbled down thoughts and leads alike during the course of his investigations. Carl was beginning to know the store and its surroundings like the back of his hand. The seeker had sought.
Bueno, aquí empezamos las partes de exploración. Van a haber muchas así. No son muy complicados al principio. Quizás cuando lo veáis digáis, joder, qué mapa tan grande, qué lío, tanta nieve. No es tan complicado. Simplemente fijaos en varios puntos de exploración. Por ejemplo, ahora mismo voy por una carretera. Hay cosas que vamos a encontrar casi siempre debajo de árboles tumbados en forma de cruz o en forma de triángulo. Siempre hay algún punto de referencia. No es tan difícil y el mapa no es tan grande. Eso sí, es un poco, ya digo, coñazo, porque hay que explorar mucho, ya que vamos a hacerlo todo del tirón en una pasada. Entonces tenemos que hacerlo todo, literalmente todo, encontrar todos los tesoros, todos los documentos y demás. Por eso va a llevar tiempo, y mucho de ese tiempo va a ser explorando como ahora. Así que nada, simplemente seguid el vídeo paso a paso para ir sacando cosita a cosita.
It was so cold. Already Carl did not feel his toes anymore. What was even the point of locking your door, if everyone hid their key in the same place? Carl was starting to feel like his investigator life lacked challenge. The house smelled like incense, the kind that reminds you of the good Lord, of peace.
Bien, este diario que vamos a encontrar aquí es necesario para el logro. Lo que pasa es que de momento no vamos a poder cogerlo hasta que hagamos ciertas cosas. De todas formas vamos a intentarlo un par de veces más mientras exploramos. Si no, tendremos que volver más adelante. Este, por ejemplo, sí podemos cogerlo. Todas estas cosas son necesarias, como digo, para el logro de encontrar todos los documentos. Y como siempre, usad, ved todas las páginas con el botón L, el stick izquierdo hacia la derecha.
The perfect cookie-cutter Catholic family, most likely attending church every Sunday. Religion was very influential throughout Quebec many years ago. Indeed, it was surprising that Carl did not come across a single chapel since arriving here. Good Paul VI, appearing papal. His crooked fingers gave the impression he was about to bestow a miracle. A true Catholic always strives to keep lowly temptations at bay. Obviously, Carl thought, someone in this house wasn't doing a good job at upholding the Holy Bible's teachings. If he was to venture deep into the woods, carrying a flare gun definitely wouldn't hurt, Carl assumed. At best, he could probably scare some beasts off. At worst, he was in for a nice little firework.
Bien chicos, hay un logro que es acabar una partida de ajedrez y para el que tenemos que interactuar con 3 juegos de ajedrez. El primero de ellos está en esta casa y los demás lo vamos a ir encontrando en diferentes casas y chozas del juego. Como digo, hay 3, si no creo recordar mal. Pero bueno, si seguís la guía lo vais a desbloquear porque yo también lo hago. Como os dije al principio del vídeo, yo también lo hago todo en esta guía. Aquí es donde la cago y me bebo la cerveza para hacer hueco en el inventario. No hagáis lo mismo que yo, no bebáis cerveza, no bebáis agua, si no, no se os va a desbloquear el logro, ¿vale?
All manners of clothing were gone, as if the LOGROS drove out of town with their closet in tow. Carl wondered how long he would have to endure this skin-stinging cold. The Bedards had vacated the premises. Carl gathered they would be of no help. Carl smiled at the sight of the nicely protected garden. Hopefully, the Bedards had managed to dig every last potato out before the sudden snowfall.
Aquí vamos a tener la primera oportunidad de sacar el logro Amante de la naturaleza, que trata de lanzar un filete a un grupo de lobos o a algún lobo. Esta es la mejor forma de deshacerse de los lobos, ¿vale? Sin tener que disparar, para que así tengamos el logro de pasarnos el juego sin disparar un arma de fuego. De todas formas, acordaos de guardar al menos un filete para el final y así poder sacar el logro vegano, que es justo en el final del juego, si no vais a tener que hacer como yo y tener que repetir el juego entero.
Carl was used to strange phenomena, but a chunk of ice like this, as if an iceberg came out of the ground, that was a first. Prince? Carl found a surprise at every turn. Was the camera faulty, or was there a possible lead? There should be a law forbidding doctors from falling sick. In spite of Dr. Beaupre's goodwill, the place didn't look much like a physician's office. It could easily be mistaken for a sewing shop. The good doctor, flanked by his beautiful spouse. Pure happiness, captured on cardstock. Carl recognized this woman's soulful eyes. Was it Dr. Beaupré who had hit him head-on at the village border? There was no doubt that the doctor and Hamilton knew each other very well. A communist manifesto. Only a few years ago, this type of allegiance meant prison time. And even at present, the Western world was very wary of the Soviet threat. Why would the doctor own such a book? Nobody kills a rich patient to start a revolution. It didn't make any sense. He had to dig deeper still to understand. Luckily, that was Carl Faubert's specialty. Carl felt like he knew the doctor now. His belongings had spoken lengths about him. But what Carl had heard worried him. The Polaroid, Carl's long-standing and faithful ally, had seen its share of husbands caught red-handed cheating. There's always something out there waiting to be snapped away. Carl shivered as he saw the emblem. The Patriot flag, used during the 1837 rebellion, and which had resurfaced in 1970's Quebec, flown proudly by the FLQ terrorist groups. This flag meant bombs, kidnappings, threats in the papers. It was a sign of rebellion. The place looked more like a pigsty than a house. A heavy stench of curdled milk, cheap alcohol, and boiled cauliflower filled the air. Back then, in Africa and elsewhere, people were ready to take up arms to stand against the yoke of English imperialism. In Montreal, mailboxes were blown up, abductions were carried out, and violent manifestos were distributed to media outlets. But around here, in the great northernmost, all a man could do is curse out loud against a faraway evil and pray for the revolution to arise. That man, by any reckoning, was from that very start. Régin Blouin. Seems like that pig had a name after all. Carl figured this recipe wasn't meant to yield a refined nectar. Carl held in his hand some awful sugar alcohol, but rather than drink it, he told himself it could be useful. He only had to be wary.
Bien chicos, entrando aquí vamos a recoger varias piezas para arreglar la moto de nieve, que eso nos dará un logro, aunque luego no la uséis. Os recuerdo que no podéis usar vehículos para que no se os joda el logro de no usar vehículos. Vais a ver que hay veces que hago fotos a estas estalactitas o estalagmitas, no sé cómo se llaman, no recuerdo cuál es la que sale del suelo. No son necesarias para el logro de todas las fotos. Sí, la primera que hicimos detrás de la tienda sí era necesaria. Solo simplemente las hago para ver, digamos, las pistas para seguir. Pero ya os recuerdo que no es necesaria para el logro, ¿ok? Para el logro de todas las fotos. Solo la que está detrás de la tienda, la grande. Aquí hay más piezas. Hay varias piezas repartidas por todo el desguace, por todo el taller. Simplemente seguid el vídeo para cogerlas todas y al final acabaremos arreglando la moto de nieve para el logro.
Roswell, Atamipek, same story. Large deserts conducive to extravagant follies. Weird stuff. Kind of a crossing between a colander and a hairdryer. What was it for? To play telepath? To protect against nuclear waves? Weird stuff. Kind of a crossing between a colander and a hairdryer. What was it for? To play telepath? To protect against nuclear waves? If some daring person could manage to get their hands on the missing parts, Carl was willing to bet that the craft would have taken flight. By following the plan, Carl was led to believe that the snowmobile's parts had to be scattered about in the vicinity. Carl hadn't lived up to his good finder reputation. He still hadn't found any of the wealth contained in Lamotte's lands. That large antenna in the middle of the path, undoubtedly ideal in attempting to communicate with little green men, was quite awkwardly placed. There had to be a lever to control it, maybe behind it. Carl would have to figure out how to reach it. The electric terminals appeared to be linked together, but for what purpose? Carl rejoiced at the unexpected source of heat, but not as much as his freezing hands. So that's where the generator key was hiding. All that was left was to use it. Open sesame. At last, so big an effort for an oh so tiny piece of metal. The man seemed petrified in ice. What Carl saw terrified him, and he didn't know if it was the fear or the cold that was responsible for his hair standing on end all over his body. The poor man, before being frozen solid, seemed to be defending the entrance to his cabin. But from what? Something very important must have been in there for the man to take such time and effort to hide it, but Carl didn't know how to reach it. The week of October 5th, thought Carl. That was this week. The plug should have been here by now.
Bien chicos, si tenéis las piezas necesarias para reparar esto, el platillo volante, hacedlo ya y os dará el logro Astronauta. Si no, no os preocupéis porque más adelante tenemos que volver a este cobertizo. Así que simplemente estad atentos para coger las piezas que os faltarían en caso de que no las tuvieseis.
A bit of gas, a new spark plug, and a key, and this thing would run perfectly. All he needed to do now was to find all that. Carl wanted to know more about this oddball mechanic. Surely he would find something somewhere on this land.
Oh, mon bonhomme! Je m'attendais pas à ce qu'un étrange retentisse par ici. Moi te dire, je prends plus de chance depuis que ça rôde dans ce bout-là. J'ai ma carabine au bout du doigt, et puis bang, 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 si ça s'approche. Si tu veux du linge chaud, parce que t'es habillé comme un gars de la ville, je dirais pas non à une bonne bouteille de caribou. Puis tu pigeras ce que tu voudras parmi mes guenilles. Oh, quand on cherche, on trouve. Parce que je t'aime bien, à cette heure, je vais te dire quelque chose. Tu fais bien de prendre ma pénice. Parce que par là-bas, tu vas rencontrer le vrai froid. Un froid qui glace comme t'en as jamais connu dans ta vie. Vois-tu le livre, là? C'est le Wendigo. Ouais, le Wendigo. Un guerrier qui devient un loup pour se venger de sa grosse peine. Hé, la Corriveau, Batèche, ça te passe l'envie de te marier, la Corriveau. Elle tuait tous ses maris, squick, les uns après les autres. Pas de pitié dans le mariage. Gomme-moi la belle rose de la tulipe, qui se donne au yob sur le mercredi des cendres. Si tu peux effrayant cette histoire-là. C'est encore beau. Tout ce qui est vieilli est bien meilleur. Gadon, ça ouvre l'appentis. Prends-la, je m'en fous. Perds ton temps dans mes déchets tant que tu rapportes du caribou.
Aquí en este cobertizo tenéis la primera oportunidad de hacer el logro Ambiente, acogedor. Si tenéis el inventario medio vacío, yo no puedo porque lo tengo lleno, aunque intento tirar cosas al final lo dejo, porque adelante habrá otra oportunidad donde seguramente tendréis el inventario, como digo, medio vacío. Así que como queráis, poder tirar un montón de cosas, hacerlo aquí o hacerlo cuando lo hago yo.
The old man's cabin had been very generous to Carl. He couldn't have asked for more. Luckily, he had the coat to protect him from the biting cold. The cold seemed to be more brutal here than anywhere else. It seeped into bones and into every breath to get to the heart until it stopped. Carl needed to be dressed in warm clothes to survive. Another instance of this magic ice. What was this one doing, lying on the ground, so afraid? The plot thickened like water into ice. A sudden cold snap struck Carl, who felt like he was pulled into a dream. He had been running in fear from something creeping towards him, against which he couldn't do anything, only to end up like this, petrified and cold. It seemed as though Régin had been ready to take up arms and slay people like Hamilton. Could he have committed murder for his cause? Who could have gotten killed in front of his very eyes? Carl suddenly felt observed. He was worried about a presence around him. No stone can withstand the force of dynamite. Carl had no idea how to interpret a message like that. On the surface, it seemed like he had one half too many of this puzzle, enough to know he shouldn't take this testimony as gospel. The entire thing, being some punishment for a murder committed by Hamilton, seemed like an outlandish theory. Carl was doubtful. It was an indisputable fact that machines like this entailed a level of intellectual finesse that Carl was lacking. The mechanic was still frozen, and Carl had everything he needed, so he felt ready to leave. wintry atmosphere surrounded the house. The soundlessness of the area suggested it was empty. A key. What could it be for? The garden shed? Carl couldn't reach it with his arm alone, but he had more than a few tricks up his sleeve to pick it up. The key, which seemed to be meant for a padlock, bore an inscription reading Cloutier et Fils. A company name. Better keep an eye open. Businesses weren't exactly numerous around these parts. A pay stub for some undoubtedly harsh lumberjack work. Alexandre Blais felled trees and chopped woods for Cloutier et Fils. A window left open in that weather? Perhaps something had to be watched. The track was fresh, That meant the car sunk down just a little while ago. Now where the hell could the passengers possibly have gone? Someone had been playing with a crossbow here. A very dangerous game. A bolt could hit someone's tire or their eye. It could even kill someone if the aim was right. Steak alone cannot subdue a starving stomach. An appetite comes with eating. The crossbow bolts had the same origin. Carl was sure of it. Who was it? And more importantly, what was being hunted like this? It was a typical shack, just like the ones you hear about in Quebecois legends. Local lumberjacks used it to rest and twice a day eat up their pea soup. Who quits a game one step away from victory? Welcome to Alibaba's Cave, Lumberjack Edition. Surely Carl would find something worth his time in here. Carl was becoming increasingly convinced that this was not normal hunting. The game that was being tracked was fearsome, so much so that the hunter didn't dare approach it. What could it be? Without a single window to brighten things up, the inside of the cabin was almost pitch black. Beware of close encounters of knee and furniture. Solitaire, a card game only hermits can truly enjoy. Carl felt depressed at the thought of playing this. a steak alone cannot subdue a starving stomach. An appetite comes with eating. A fire can't be started with a snap of the fingers. right until that point, Carl had believed that the object of this crossbow hunting had been a ravenous wolf who was terrorizing the village. But as he noticed the height at which the bolts had been fired, he concluded that the beast had to have been as tall as a man on his feet, not unlike a gorilla. The thought was chilling. The air was freezing, right down to the bone. The otherworldly ice had struck again. The woman's hopes and dreams were frozen in eternity. Something was hidden under the stairs. The man grabbed his rifle. Carl felt a sense of dread in him. Perhaps their spousal relationship had been cooling down lately. It seemed like secrecy was commonplace in this house. The vision's veil was lifted, and he was back to reality. A reality in which Giselle, Gilles' loving spouse, was motionless, frozen in ice. Looks like the holes in that puzzle are there to stay. The general store, along with several more infrastructures in the area, had been acquired by wealthy industrialist William J. Hamilton. Perhaps the village should be rechristened Hamiltown. Carl had seen that kind of safe before. With its double-layered security system blending letters and numbers, its code couldn't be broken by the common burglar. mess. Clearly, there was some major revamping work underway here. The place looked barely habitable. Beautiful portrait of Gilles and Giselle, bound together by the chains of conventional love. That window had seemingly been left open for a while, Carl thought. Given the punishing weather, it couldn't have been intentional. A shiver ran down Carl's spine as he glanced over another body trapped in ice. Indeed, the scene was quite chilling. Familiar shivers going down his spine, and he was back to the realm of visions. To all appearances, this was a hunting log. Better yet, a war diary. What could these engraved numbers mean? A fresh path suddenly appeared before Carl. The vision slowly faded away, like an icicle melting in the palm of your hand. Carl, back in the real world, now knew who the icebound man was. Gilles Lachance, the general store's manager himself.
Bien, como veis, de repente se hizo de noche en el juego y ahora tenéis la oportunidad de hacer el logro una estrella en la noche, que es disparar una bengala de noche. Bien, si queréis aseguraros de no perder el logro de no disparar un arma de fuego, haced un punto de guardado en la tienda ya que estamos cerca y salid, disparad, cargad el punto de control. Pero ya os digo que yo disparé, si os habéis fijado, durante el gameplay, disparé la bengala alguna que otra vez para ahuyentar a los lobos y a mí el logro no me lo quitó, me lo dio por válido, ¿vale? Así que yo que ustedes haría el punto de guardado para estar seguros al 100% de no perder ese logro.
Someone must have dropped this in a hurry, but whoever did was heading into the woods. Carl's tracking instincts were quickly kicking in. Carl knew why he was suddenly shivering. He was going back to the realm of visions. Carl had no issue recognizing the spirit-like figures, but he couldn't figure out what they wanted from him. The phantom, freed of reality's shackles, vanished in the forest. Earlier, Carl had witnessed a tragedy that befell it. Another phantom disappeared in the wilderness. Carl had seen what happened to it too. A third phantom gently faded away. Carl noticed that as the cursed villagers finally left reality, he could feel a sense of unburdening exuding from them in an almost intimate way. The last phantom, lost in solitude up until now, joined the others in the forest's darkness, free at last to enjoy an eternal, well-deserved slumber. Carl was only beginning to understand the horror which had struck his village. He understood that the dead were piling up and that he couldn't help them by himself. The road was clear for him. He needed to push further north, and fast, to find help. Another diary. Carl felt like someone was trying to communicate with him. Or was it simply the result of happenstance? This hunt was never ending. Carl hoped that the hunter had finally triumphed over the beast. Carl had found what he was looking for. He needed to get back on the road. Carl reckoned that the place was still inhabited less than 24 hours ago. His detective sense tingled, revealing to him, or was it the strong smell of wilderness in the air, that there were most likely two men. Pierre the poacher Blais was definitely not the one who lived here. Indeed, Carl learned earlier that the man had recently been shredded to death by, allegedly, beasts. The jacket was still soaking wet. The poor man had surely unwillingly, had a taste of the pond's water not too long ago. According to the pay stub, that poor man was Alexandre Blais. The door had been busted down violently, and a burnt smell filled the air. Half of the cabin had been consumed by flames. Carl surveyed the chaotic scene, noticing that someone appeared to have intended to use the furniture as bonfire fuel. Carl had no idea how such a mess could have occurred, but he knew it didn't bode well. With this many bolts fired, the beast now had to have been pierced through and through. Seems like this place was long deserted. Just one more move for black to checkmate white. A fire is as good as the materials used to create it. Two more victims of this ice plague. Carl felt a chill down his spine. What if he was next? Carl felt the strong pull of a vision overcome him. Carl wondered how long he would have to endure this skin-stinging cold. A young woman. It looked like a simple hunting accident. There was Hamilton. Carl recognized him. A major hunting accident. The doctor examined the young woman. But death couldn't be overturned. She was dead. It was not the type of body you buried in a big ceremony in the village graveyard. It had to be hidden. No one could know about this. The best way to do that was to have a simple-minded man bury the poor girl, Amante, the mechanic. The doctor denied the unfair death of the young woman, but Hamilton had him in his grips. Hamilton knew all of the poet's secrets and wouldn't hesitate to reveal them. I know all about your crimes, you little communist. You know mine. What a sordid affair. Understood the ins and outs of the affair. A woman had been killed in an unfair accident, and a young warrior had damned himself to avenge her. But Hamilton, the one responsible, had already been killed, and so the beast could not quench its thirst.
Bueno, pues este es el final ya del juego, donde tan solo tendremos que huir hasta la barca. Bien, ¿os recordáis que os dije que guardaseis un filete, no? Pues lo primero que tenéis que hacer es coger ese filete y tirárselo al Wendigo, para que nos dé el logro vegano. Ya lo demás es solo escapar. Cuando escapemos, si lo habéis hecho bien, os dará todos los logros relacionados con los finales, menos uno, que es el de disparar al Wendigo. ¿Cómo sacamos este logro? Cuando volvamos al menú después de los créditos, cargamos la partida anterior, nos mandará a una parte del cementerio, pero desde ahí le dais a pausa, cargáis el punto de control de el santuario y nada más que carga aparecéis de nuevo en esta escena donde elegís el rifle y le disparáis al Wendigo. Y con eso tendríais los 1000 Gs y el 100% de este juego. Así que nada, espero que os haya ayudado esta guía. Nos vemos en las siguientes. Adiós.
Sheltered him, but for how long? disappeared, so did purity. I would defend